In the courtyard of King Janaka, a massive prize awaits the victor of a theological debate. 1,000 cows stand in the dust, each of their horns bound with 10 pieces of gold. Hundreds of scholars have gathered to claim them. Before the first question is even spoken, a sage named Yājñavalkya steps forward. He instructs his student to drive the entire herd away. He takes the prize. The courtyard erupts in anger. The established priests demand to know how he can declare himself the wisest. These scholars have built their authority on the strict performance of physical sacrifices. Yājñavalkya is forcing a confrontation. He requires them to move past reciting the mechanics of ritual, demanding instead a direct, unmediated understanding of reality. As the priests step forward to interrogate him, they treat ultimate reality like another physical prize to be catalogued. They ask him to measure the soul, to locate it in space, to break it down into quantifiable pieces. This is the exact error Yājñavalkya intends to expose. The human intellect naturally tries to possess spiritual truth by turning it into an object of knowledge. By attempting to grasp it, the scholars guarantee they will never hold it. 8 different challengers step up to debate him. They throw out definitions, attempting to reduce the self to a specific physical or mental function. One argues the self is speech, another says it is the life breath, others claim it is sight, or the mind, or the physical heart. Yājñavalkya dismantles every single proposition. For each claim, he replies, neti, neti, not this, not this. He systematically proves that the true observer cannot be the thing being observed. Finally, a priest named Shankaracharya takes the floor. He refuses to accept this non-dual, ungraspable reality. He aggressively presses Yājñavalkya through a barrage of specific questions, demanding the exact name and location of a single, objective, supreme deity. Yājñavalkya warns him to stop questioning the nature of a divinity that exceeds logical categories. Shankaracharya ignores the warning and pushes further. According to the text, the strain of trying to force the absolute into a finite mental construct proves fatal. Shankaracharya's head physically shatters, falling apart right there in the courtyard. The rational intellect operates by dividing the world into subjects and objects. When it attempts to process a reality where those divisions do not exist, the structure breaks. The infinite cannot survive inside a finite vessel. Long before any human debates over identity, the Upanishads describe a state of complete, formless potentiality. There was no space, no time, and no earth. There were no separate objects to be perceived. From this deep, universal liquidity emerged Hiranyadva, the cosmic mind. Manifestation began subtly, existing only as a bare outline or an archetype within the total potential of the cosmos, like an unpainted sketch. In this primal state, the singular consciousness recognized its own existence. It looked inward and made the foundational declaration, Aham Brahmāsmi, I am Brahman. This was not an individual ego asserting its dominance. There were no humans to speak the words. It was the entire undivided universe becoming aware of its own absolute wholeness. Because every subsequent physical element, living creature, and human mind developed out of this singular origin, everything retains that original nature. Yājñavalkya speaks with his wife, Maitreyī. She has realized that inheriting his material wealth will not secure her immortality and asks him to teach her the truth of existence. He gives her an analogy. He asks her to imagine throwing a coarse block of rock salt into a bowl of pure water. As the salt sits in the water, its rigid structure softens and slowly dissolves until the physical block is entirely gone. Then, Yājñavalkya delivers a blunt statement. When consciousness is finally freed from its entanglement with the physical elements of the body, there is no particular consciousness left. He tells her, after death, there is no awareness. Maitreyī immediately pushes back, deeply confused. She represents the absolute terror of the human ego. The personality recoils at the idea that its individual thoughts, memories, and boundaries will face complete annihilation. But her fear comes from a misinterpretation of language. Modern textual scholarship on the original Sanskrit term sarvam clarifies this point. The word does not refer to a material collection of every single object in the universe. It translates more accurately to completeness or wholeness. The salt hasn't died, and its essence hasn't vanished. By losing its localized temporary shape, it has achieved completeness. It has safely returned to the total mass of the water. 8th century philosopher Adi Shankaracharya expands on this in his commentary. He notes the inveterate habit of the mind to mix up the true witness self with the physical, fragile individuality we currently experience. Immortality is not about taking your personal name, your ego, and your human memories into eternity. It is the witness consciousness dropping its temporary human outline and reabsorbing into the absolute. Look back at the bowl of water. It is perfectly still. You cannot point to a single grain of the salt anywhere. Yet, if you take a sip from any part of the bowl, the flavor of the salt is present everywhere. Here lies the ultimate paradox of the Upanishads. The individual human ego can never truthfully speak the words Aham Brahmāsmi. The ego itself is a localized boundary. As long as you feel like a distinct I, you are not Brahman. The teaching does not suggest that a mortal creature eventually earns the right to become an infinite God. It states that the boundary separating the mortal from the infinite was an illusion from the very beginning. When that illusion dissolves, a profound peace takes over. There is no longer an individual mind left to grasp at objects, no fear of death to endure, and no intellectual debates to win in a royal court. The temporary, finite human vessel finally breaks open, and the consciousness it once held dissolves back into the vast cosmos. Aham Brahmāsmi is not a declaration of human pride. It is the absolute silence that remains when the individual finally disappears.